thank you very much for coming here. All of you, I know there are a lot of newcomers and some regulars. So let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Ziad Abdelnour. I'm founder and chairman of the Financial Policy Council, and I'm president and CEO of Blackhawk Partners. First, I'd like to thank our major sponsor, our strategic partners, M-Bank, Vladimir Lunegov, who unfortunately could not make it today for some, challenging circumstances, and who's a major contributor to our events and supporter. I also would like to thank our sponsors for this event, Ruth Davis, Nicole Allen, and Pania, who have been working very hard and putting together a first-class event for your enjoyment and education. And I would like to thank also all our board members and members of the Project Liberty team. Please stand up for an ovation. Of course you can. Let me tell you a bit about the council, what we do, why we do this, without boring you with the details. Financial Policy Council has been in business for 13 years, since July 4, 2011. We have today around 80 corporate sponsors, 300,000 followers, a board of 7 people, a Project Liberty team membership of 26 now, with the advent of Dan Silverman, who just came on board a few days ago. So we're rocking. We have produced and still produce tons of events, blog articles, podcasts, interviews, video clips, you name it. We are the troublemakers for the establishment. We're here to challenge all the old views. We're here to provide solutions for very complex problems. And I'm talking about every asset class out there, whether we're talking about real estate, private equity, branding, fintech, oil and gas, you name it. So what we have done is that we have brought on board experts in every asset class. We have a bunch of experts in healthcare, in Bitcoin, in branding, in AI, you name it. All these people have skin in the game. They're entrepreneurs. They're not academics and professors. Most conservative organizations, they have on board professors who know shit about business, who don't have any skin in the game, and who pontificate all the time without any action. We're not like that. We provide solutions, we fund these problems, we put together resources. We are hardcore activists to empower people, to inspire people, to make a difference. Whether it pisses off people or not, we don't care. We're not here running for office. We're not Republicans, we're not Democrats, we're not anything of the sort. They cannot label us. We are solution seekers to very big problems that is facing this country. And we have major, major problems. People don't want to admit it, people hide it, this is all bullshit. We are really in deep shit. And those who get offended by my words, you can leave the room. This is reality. This is substance. This is not style. We don't care about the style. We want to get things done. So, one of the very important topics, and we never did anything like that, or maybe we did a few years ago, but I forgot about it, is branding. How do you convey the message? How do you brand your organization? This doesn't work. How do you brand yourself? We have on board here 3 experts in the field. They've spent a lot of time doing it. They've dealt with a numerous number of clients, some of them with very big egos. They know how to massage their egos and make things right. We're working with them also on branding a number of things for the organization, for the FPC. Look, at the end of the day, we have to get the message out in the right way. Disrespective of what people think and do. So we have on board, without elaborating, but I think you get the gist of it, of what the FPC is all about. And for all the new people coming here, I really would like you to be regulars, attend frequently, because you will learn a lot and you will interact with first-class people. We have an event coming on October 17, next month, on healthcare. We have an event coming up on November 7 about oil and gas, renewable energy, all that kind of stuff, fracking, no fracking. So all the topics that are discussed today in the presidential debates, we're dealing with them, and we're finding solutions by bringing in experts to discuss them. So this is how it works. I'm going to ask the distinguished group of panelists a couple of questions each. They will respond to my questions. Then I'll leave it up to you, the audience, to ask them any questions you want. So this is very interactive. I'm not running the show, I'm instigating it. It's up to you to ask the questions you want. There are no stupid questions. But please, we need questions, not comments. Some people stand up and start giving me a lecture on comments. We don't need that. Just ask them the questions. We want you to get out of this room at the end of the event saying, wow, I learned something today. If you don't, we're not here to bore you or to talk about politically correct stuff. The more controversial you can be, the better. This is what makes you think. We are here for critical thinking and solutions. Most organizations have canceled this kind of language. It's not politically correct. I don't give a rat's ass if it's politically correct or not. I want results. Anyway, to start here, without further ado, I'm going to have each one of the panelists give us 1-2 minutes presentation about themselves, their background, their track record, their achievement, what they want to do, and then I will move to the question, starting with Ruth Davis. Thank you for coming, Ruth.
Thank you. All right, so Ruth Davis, CEO of Ascendant. Started the company, we were managing public speakers initially, and then we realized within a couple of years what determined how much they spoke was their popularity of their brand. So we began getting into PR and securing book deals. Another few years into that, started looking at the marketplace and said, wow, you've got all these great people at this time like Richard Branson, Martha Stewart, Magic Johnson, Donald Trump at the time, who are building this brand as a CEO, and it's essentially growing their business in that of itself. So we decided to bottle that formula back up in 2009, and that's where we've been the last 15 years. We're celebrating 20 years this year, and we're #1 ranked minority-owned PR firm in the country 3 years in a row, and PR News Top 100 Elite Agency, and I've been working with Ziad for a number of years. Happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, Raul. Nicole?
Great. Nicole Allen. I'm the CEO and founder of Sublime Communications. We're a growth acceleration firm. So what we do, we use marketing communications as well as deep and trusted relationships to drive explosive growth for companies. So we started just doing very traditional marketing communications, and what we found is we took a number of companies from as early as Y Combinator and brought a few of them to $10 billion IPOs. And we did that through really strong brand development, media buying, digital marketing, and a number of other integrated marketing services. But what that then did was put us in the cross-section of relationships. A lot of the board members of these companies that we took through IPOs and acquisitions, started giving us their portfolio companies, so Khosla, Blackstone, et cetera. And they also started inviting us to investor events. So we cultivated deep relationships with family offices. And so now we also use very curated relationships to help drive growth as well, because there's big brand awareness, but there's also hand-to-hand combat. And you have to look at the two. We look at what the trajectory for a company is going to be. We always want to know what's the exit strategy. So you go in knowing what you want to do. And on average, we're driving between 10x and 40x for our clients.
Thank you, Nicole. Very impressive. Anthony.
My name is Anthony Pania. I'm a New York City local, born and raised in Brooklyn, and then moved to Long Island when I was a little bit younger. Former corporate turned serial entrepreneur. And what me and my companies and my team have focused on is building a multitude of brands, utilizing different types of forums, whether it's collabing with different types of ideas over philosophy, mythology, sociology, and a variety of things. And what we've done is we've been able to build companies and secure trademarks for very big ideas. You know, one of few has attracted an 8-figure offer from a very large corporation. So pretty much my expertise comes from helping brands grow based on revenue and image.
Thank you, Anthony. I'd like to start a couple of questions with Raul and then move to Nicole and Anthony. Raul, what role does a CEO and executive branding play for a company in basic terms?
Well, all of us have two choices. Either you get branded or you get labeled. You show up to an interview in your pajamas and you ask people not to judge you, it's too late. It's already happened. So what you have to decide is you're going to let it happen by design or by default. One of the key things to do that's very simple is to Google yourself. What do your top 10 results look like? Do they flow in a way where if someone talks to you, they think they're great, then they Google you, it lines up, right? Why does this matter? Because all of us have had the situations where we're talking to that executive within a company, we built the rapport, we took them out to lunch, we did everything we needed to, and then they go to the committee, right? The committee didn't talk to you. So what does the committee do? They Google you. They look for how do you stand up not being in the room, because that executive, they'll be able to say a couple good things about you, but they're not you, right? So that a brand is about being there when you're not. So the key question ends up being this. Maybe someone has a similar name as you and they're taking up your Google results. That doesn't help you. Maybe your Twitter account is in your top 10 and you only got 80 followers. That doesn't make you look successful. So you got to architect it. That's what it's all about. And in terms of this whole idea of branding and labeling, I'll give you just a simple marketplace example. We all remember back in 2015 when Jeb Bush was supposed to become the Republican nominee for president, and then this guy named Donald Trump called him Low Energy Jeb. He labeled him. And what was the problem for Jeb? He didn't brand himself enough in advance to take that hit, and he didn't know how to brand himself to get out of it. So those are mistakes. And lastly, business at the end of the day is what? Business is not just B2B or B2C, but it's H to H, human to human. So how do you develop that emotional connection for the brand? So those are the reasons why a CEO or an executive brand matters.
Fantastic. So I want to ask you a question first before, that's not in my hand, but now you opened up the thing. So if you're an aggressive guy who gets things done, but who's sometimes abrasive, does this play to you? But you get things done, you have an excellent reputation, you have a deal going, etc. You're not politically correct, but you get things done. How do people view this? Is it positive or negative?
Well, I mean, we can't all be as gentle as Ziad, right? So,
I felt like that was a personal question.
No, I mean, you were referring to somebody who's really.
It's a theoretical question.
Yeah.
So, many people will wonder, why does Ziad get away with cursing and some of the other things he's done? Because he's built a reputation of being successful with the approach he's taken. So people bake it into the cake, right? And that's the power of a brand as well, is that what you're doing successfully, even if your style's a little bit different, ask Elon Musk, right? It gets baked into the cake. So it's very important to do it with intention, though. That's the thing about it, because if you misfire on that, then you're just a jackass, right? You have to kind of communicate. If you look at what Ziad does, he primes it very strategically, right? He's just not out here behaving a certain way, but he primes it. And like, I remember Ziad invited me to Freedom Fest in Las Vegas a few years ago. And here he is on this panel. Yes, there's like 3,000 people in Vegas. And here he is on this panel with this professor, right, of entrepreneurship. And I was just waiting for it because, professor of entrepreneurship and Ziad on the same panel, okay? So Ziad did a good job, though. He let it go a couple times. I could see his face. He waited, right? And then he waited until about his third response. He had already had the crowd with him. He got up and he said, "This is bullshit. This is all theoretical nonsense. I want to tell you what real entrepreneurship is." And the crowd was and the moderator tried to calm him down. Let him talk. That's what the audience said. So that is the strategy of it. So you can structure your personal characteristics into your brand as long as you prime it and you're strategic with it.
Thank you so much. Very helpful, really. Nicole, how can companies utilize their brand to build the strategic relationships and networks to accelerate their success?
Sure. So brands are only brands if they resonate. And what Raul said is absolutely right. And I always say there's B2B, B2C, which is nonsense because it's B to H at the end of the day. There's a human connection that every brand has to have. And we work with primarily B2B. And I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with CEOs of tech companies and they think I'm nuts when I start talking about emotion. One of them hung up on me. And I said, that's fine. You will not make it. At the end of the day, there is a human being who has to make a decision. And if you don't get a connection, there is a reason why everyone makes a choice. And whether it's a cybersecurity executive who doesn't want to risk their reputation, whether it's a consumer buying something because it saves them time. At the end of the day, what a brand is that cross-section between what is true and relevant about a product or service, and more importantly, what is most important to your target audience. So there has to be a really deep understanding of what matters. Why should someone care? Why is someone going to lean in and listen? A brand is not standing on the hilltop, banging your chest and saying, we're great, we have all of these features and services to offer. It's no, what are we really doing for someone? How are we changing the way they work, the way their life is lived? And when you marry those things together and you find that sweet spot in the middle, that's when a brand becomes sticky. And today, with the proliferation of, there's advertising coming at you every which way. Our phones are on us at all times, whether you're in the back of a taxi, whether you're walking down the street, it's everywhere. But you're going to engage with the things that resonate. So it is so incredibly important to understand and listen. Who is your audience? Why are they making a decision? And what is it about your brand that is really unique and different?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nicole. Very right on the money. Anthony, my friend, why is it so important to capture attention through strong branding techniques of the get-go when implementing, going into new markets?
So it comes very simply down to image is key, right? Example, it depends on your target market. In today's society, with changing markets, changing economy, if you want to build a company for success, you can't just target one generation because there's different types of people in every generation. Example, you want to target Gen Z, millennials, boomers, but if you want to create a lasting product that does well in a market or a brand or anything that's going to become a successful 8, 9, even 10-figure entity, what you need to do is make sure that your brand is on point and it appeals to people. Everything is social media. Everything is how it looks, right? Models look the part. You walk into TJ Maxx, you buy some underwear. That looks good on the model, shredded with abs, right? You're not thinking about how it looks good on you. Be like, that looks good, right? So it's all about image. It's very important that when creating a brand from the get-go, you have to have your plan in place of what image you want to pursue and who that appeals to. Example, if you're creating, let's say, a wine company based off philosophy, you are appealing to philosophers, but a majority of philosophers tend to be a little bit older. They tend to be more established in life. They might be speakers. They might be more educated, higher level degrees, people who tend to be in a different class in society. So what you're going to do, you can't market these people cheap wine. You have to market them higher end wine, higher quality grapes. Some of these people may be sommeliers. They might know wine, right? So what you have to do is study your market and create a brand that is appealing to those types of people.
Love it. So it's really a rifle approach.
100%. I mean, if we look in what's going on right now, it's the same thing, right? Trump does well because he has a brand, Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
You know, it's an amazing branding technique in and of itself, right?
It applies to everybody.
It's timeless.
Yep.
It's something that just has that image of, and that's what captures so many people.
Can I add one thing? So, and when you say make America great again, another thing it is it's artfully vague, right? So it allows you to imagine for yourself what it means. He doesn't tell you what it means. You can see yourself in it. And that's a big part of a branding process, is that you're not hammering information with people. It's more like that movie Inception, if any of you have seen that, where basically you're trying to plant the idea, but it bubbles up themselves and may add meaning to it.
Thank you so much, Raul. Again, Raul, how does PR play a role in driving success for a business? In my personal experience, every time I dealt in the past, I don't anymore, because I have you, deal with a PR business, they charge you huge retainers, they don't perform, they bullshit you to the moon, and it's always sorry, and we tried, etc. I tried it 2-3 times with different kinds of people, younger and older, more experienced. It's the same shit all the time. You know, so I gave up on PR, and I think very few people know how to do the proper PR. So, I mean, how does it play, a role in driving success? I mean, should you pay them up front? Should you, to be very realistic, I don't want to talk theory here.
Yeah, I mean, so I was always amazed how people in the PR industry had basically done this magic trick where they're not held accountable at all. Basically,
Exactly.
We'll give you our best efforts, pay us, and then it's a 6-month or 3-month cancellation clause even when you're mad with them, right? So when we started a PR practice, we decided to go with a metric-oriented approach because I felt like if you're going to a car dealership and they tried to tell you, well, we're just going to give you the wheels, that wouldn't work. You're expecting a car, right? So we decided to build a metric-oriented approach where you're paying us X, we will guarantee X amount of media placements, or if by the end of agreement we haven't met that, we will work on our own dime until we do. And so working with someone who has confidence in what they're willing to do and will put some risk into it themselves, I think that's very important. Now, to your question in terms of the role PR plays. So branding is a mix of several kind of moving elements simultaneously. So first, you got to obviously have the message. We've all talked about that, right? But then you have to think about how is the message going to live in the marketplace in an elegant way. So I'll give you an example. One of our clients the last 3 years has been Dale Carnegie, oldest, largest training company in the world. But what disadvantage do they have? Dale Carnegie's dead. He's been dead a very long time. So the CEO of the company is a guy named Joe Hart. What we did with him was basically think about, well, what's Joe's expertise? And it's leadership development, right? And so how do organizations integrate AI into their culture successfully? How do they increase performance? So we thought about thought leadership angles that he could do TV interviews and write articles about that are good headlines that people will connect with. So that's a good use of PR because it's a relevant topic. It's providing value to the marketplace, and then people want to follow you and engage with you. Then you take that PR, utilize it on LinkedIn, maybe send some communications out to people and just say, you're in this space, you're a chief human resource officer, here's an article I thought might be helpful to you. A lot of people won't do anything with it. Some percentage will. They'll be thankful. And that's how you're building real organic relationships. Take that over to social media, right? You don't talk at people, you engage them in conversations. You do what Ziad does, you be provocative, right? That increases engagement, makes people trust you more. Then you take it over to speaking engagements, what we're doing right now, right? If you are in front of an audience for 30 to 60 minutes, building that rapport with them, that's going to lead to opportunities. And then the final aspect a lot of people look at is a book deal, right? Ziad has written multiple books, demonstrated her expertise. If someone's going to spend 200 pages with you, they're making a really major commitment. And your ability to be able to send that book out to your target audience. We had Joe's last book, which hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, sent it out to about 200 chief sales officers, chief human resource officers. For a $25 book, he closed $700,000, $800,000 of business. That's not a bad deal, is it?
Thank you so much, Raul. I move to Nicole. Nicole, talking about advertising, what role really does advertising play today? I mean, how has it evolved over the years? I would say since the 80s.
Well, technology has everything to do with that. So advertising now is ubiquitous. It's absolutely everywhere. And it's inundating us. There are messages reaching us. I mean, look at your phone right now. I'm sure there's plenty of things. And it's scary because as a marketer, I know all the ways that we can use technology to reach you. We are listening to your conversations, as horrible as that is. We do scan emails. We're able to do a lot of things that are crazy, but impactful when you're really trying to hyper-target. So what we are able to do now with advertising, it's no longer this spray and pray kind of approach. Everything is as targeted as digital marketing. So when we buy media, now we're able to buy with attribution associated, whether we're buying out-of-home media, streaming audio, connected TV, it is all attribution focused. So we know who is seeing your advertising, we know what actions they're taking, and we then can reach them and keep targeting, retargeting, building out lookalike audiences. So there's just no end to the amount of efficiency that technology now allows us. So it's a completely different playing field. But this is why branding is so much more important now than it ever has been. Think about the way we used to consume TV. It used to be appointment driven. You know, there used to be a show that you would tune into, and we would buy network television during Seinfeld or during, you know, name your TV show. But no one watches TV that way anymore. So now the way you have to look at buying media and reaching your audience is much more target focused. So who is your target? And it doesn't matter. You don't want to think about, okay, they're CNBC watchers. No, we want to reach your target wherever they are. So it's about buying your audience versus buying a program. So It is day and night from where it used to be.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I understand, but this is still too broad for me. How do you rise above the pack? How do you go in the top 1%? How do you obliterate all the competition without any doubt?
Sure. There is a magic equation to getting there.
Yeah.
So it's a trifecta. You have to have the right message. You can have the best brand out there. It doesn't matter. We have marketed many parody products and gotten them to rise to the top. Why? Because we had the right message at the right time in the right place. So you have to have the right message. That is your brand position. It is why your brand gets out of bed in the morning. And again, this is this perfect cross-section between what it is your consumer, customer, I don't care what they are, what does your decision maker care about, why are they going to choose you, and what is most true and relevant about your brand. So you get that message, you put it into your creative, into your, it doesn't matter whether this is a digital ad, TV, print, radio, events, you name it. You have to have a message and a brand that resonates and can cut through the clutter. Most of the categories out there are incredibly competitive. Whether we're talking about a financial services offering, whether we're talking about a beauty offering, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of competition out there. So you have to rise above the noise. So it is message, it is having the right media programming. So it's integrated marketing. You need the work Raul is doing with PR. You've got to get people's attention in the very organic media, but you also then need to take that message and keep clubbing the people over the head with who you are and why you should be engaging, and keep touching them and touching them. So it is not just one thing. Nothing operates in a vacuum. It is right message, right time, right place.
So let's say you want to do a kick-ass ad in the Wall Street Journal or something like that anyway, for the Financial Policy Council. We are about finance. We are about wealth creation. We are about freedom. I was thinking about doing an ad, tell me if it's a good idea or not, for the Financial Policy Council. A one-page ad in the Wall Street Journal. The back cover, the background is about the Constitution, we the people. The title of the ad up there, preserving the legacy of our founding fathers. The signature down there is by the 56 members of the Financial Policy Council, which is the 56 founding fathers. Preserving the legacy of our founding fathers, signed by 56 of us, with the background, the picture of the Constitution. Would that be powerful enough? Because it reflects about freedom, patriotism, wealth creation, all at the same time. Or is it too much like in your face? For all the people who read the Wall Street Journal, which is pretty much 11 million people, would that message be, wow, this is something very different? Or who the hell do they think they are?
Well,
I'm being very blunt.
Yeah, no, and I like that.
I mean, this is how I like to speak rather than generalities.
I agree. So I think it would depend. What's the call to action? What is the desired response that you want from the 11 million people?
I want people to respond to say, okay, these guys are doing the right thing. They're hitting on the right buttons. They are patriots, real patriots. They are here for capitalism, freedom, wealth creation, everything. And which most Wall Street guys, although they vote Democrat, they think like this and are like this. Nobody ever, no conservative organization ever in the history of the United States dared putting something like that. It is out of the box.
So if we were to do creative that...
I mean, I don't mind being very shocking as long as I get their attention. And I think this is going to get a lot of attention because we are like we're preserving the legacy of the founding fathers and signing 56 of us, and they were 56 founding fathers. It's very bold. But I want to have your opinion as an expert.
Sure. Bold is good. Bold is good, and bold is what you're about. That is your brand, and it will attract the type of people who are looking for different thinking, who don't want status quo.
I think so. I believe so. It will wake up a lot of people.
As long as it has a call to action, and as long as you don't let it operate in a vacuum.
Of course, obviously.
Yep.
But at least it's a start.
It's a start.
It triggers the flame, you know?
Yeah, it's a bold statement. There are certain media that says, I've arrived, and the Wall Street Journal, we put a lot of brands on the map by choosing media placements very strategically. So we've worked with a lot of cybersecurity companies that, were as teeny as 12 people that we took to, multi-billion-dollar exits and $10 billion IPOs. And we knew we needed to reach C-suite. So what did we do? We thought about, where does the C-suite travel? What do they do? What is their path? So we did a lot of airport takeovers. And what that did was it said to these C-suite, this company is real. They are not fly-by-night.
Yeah.
And people who are making decisions, million-dollar enterprise security decisions, don't make decisions to go with a company they've never heard of.
Of course.
No one got fired for buying IBM, but if...
I appreciate it, Nicole. I really do. Thank you so much. Anthony, last but not least, Anthony, when establishing a brand, how does one approach marketing in regards to the product image to best suit their target audience for maximum engagement?
So, it comes down to two different things, right? Are you trying to center the brand around a person and that be the brand image? Or are you trying to center the brand around the brand itself? Example, right? If we think of Amazon and somebody says the name Jeff Bezos, a lot of people have that image, and I know you guys are thinking of it too, that picture that circulates on the internet of Jeff Bezos with that Amazon paint sign and him in front of a computer in his basement, right? Everybody has a positive image of Jeff Bezos. When people think of Amazon, they think of convenience, prime, something positive that's helping them get through their day-to-day life, right? That's a very positive brand image. A lot of people who aren't as educated don't know about the things Jeff Bezos does and a couple other things that have been negative for his PR because they're not as highlighted. It's overshadowed by his brand. So when it comes to building a successful brand, you want to make sure that your brand solves a need in the market that makes it so convenient and so important that people can overlook the people running the brand. A lot of brands these days that have issues in what we call cancel culture, especially with millennials and Gen Z, they have issues with the people running the brands. Because you have a lot of influencers now who become the center of brands, and then who knows, let's say Addison Rae, a big TikTok influencer, said the N-word 5 years ago, and that popped up on Twitter. Now the whole black community is outraged, and they're not using L'Oreal Beauty anymore because Addison's the face of L'Oreal. L'Oreal just lost a large percentage of profit and the population because they spent so much of their marketing making that person their image. So it's very important that the brand makes their product solve a problem, and that's their image, right? If you think of Amazon, Amazon is solving a problem that is applicable to every different person. Ziad might need to buy, who knows, Ziad might need to buy a bunch of wine glasses for a big event next week, and some guy in the back might need a bunch of condoms. He might need it tonight, and it's gonna get there between 4 to 8 p.m., right? So it solves his immediate need, and he's justifying, okay, yeah, I'm gonna pay Amazon. Nobody's thinking about, the labor issues Amazon has in other countries and the inhumane practices that have come up that always get buried because it solves convenience. And that's the thing. Amazon overall has a positive brand outlook because of the consistency of what they're able to provide to their consumer. So it's very important when you're building your own brand, whether you're a real estate individual or whether you're someone who's building a company or whether you're someone who's building a team of salespeople, you need to make it so that your brand image is something that leaves a positive image. So let's say, I decide next week that you know, I hate Africa, and I start broadcasting that everywhere, you know, my brand could still do well if I'm separated from the brand, if the brand is not using me as their sole focus to get sales and to solve problems.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Brilliant, really brilliant. Okay, now I'm gonna turn this the questions to the audience. We have till 8:30 p.m., so we still have like 40 minutes. 8:30, 8:35. So anybody who has a question, please raise your hand, introduce yourself, ask the question, and please keep it short. The response will be like 2 to 3 minutes. We're not going to respond for half an hour. Don't try to monopolize the discussion, please. So please go ahead. Raymond.
Good evening. My name is Ray Laguerre from the city of Boston. Can you share with us at least 3 or 4 companies that have done a good job with branding and have kind of sustained time in terms of have been around a little bit and have adapted to some changes and still have been able to maintain their brand, and why have they been successful at doing that? As an example, I know you used Amazon, but you know, someone else that we could at least think about and model a little bit, if you could.
Well, I think maybe each of us can do one. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use Apple as my example because they had a crisis several years ago. You know, Steve Jobs had been very tied into that company, and when you thought of Apple and innovation, you know, Steve Jobs was there, right? And the question became, what would happen when Steve Jobs was gone? And at first, they tried to go, I think, purely with kind of like, we're going to lean into the corporate brand. And that may or may not have worked long term. And then they realized they could take Tim Cook and basically take the same approach that they did with Steve Jobs. And that has worked very well. And Tim Cook is not by nature like this huge personality, but he is able to represent the product well, and he doesn't bring a lot of other baggage with him. So it's just like they do it enough where it's that, again, that human to human aspect so that there's that trust there, right? And when you have that sort of crisis, it's easy to think that, oh, you know, Steve Jobs, so much of the company valuation was tied to him. We don't want to go that approach again. But they thought about it, they looked at it, and they made the pivot they needed to for that situation. That's not going to be the solution for every company, right? But they took their situation and made the right adjustments that was going to help their company continue to grow.
I'm going to break the rule. So I would say Dove, Patagonia, and Nike are perfect examples of brands that have transcended. They have total cultural relevance, and you know, Patagonia has stood the test of time. They understand that the younger audiences are really value-based and care about the climate, care about ethical solutions. So they have a lot of different policies as a company where you can send back your used Patagonia and they will resell it. Things like that are very important. People are very tied to what a company stands for. Dove has used real beauty, real people. They celebrated people during COVID, people wearing the masks, and they just took a really strong approach, leaning into things that are going on around them. And when a brand can embrace everything going on around them, Nike does this as well and has worked with athletes that have had a lot of ups and downs in their careers. And so it's being able to maintain cultural relevance, but being true to what your core brand equity is at the same time.
Thank you, Nicole. Anthony.
So another great example where a company like Apple used Steve Jobs. Apple was becoming very big in the community of software and tech, and then Steve Jobs capitalized on that as the Albert Einstein of his generation, right? You have that similarly in Tesla. Raymond, when I ask you Tesla, what do you think of?
I think of, I really think of first like electric car, and then quality.
Exactly. So that's the thing. He said the first electric car. Tesla is nowhere near the first electric car.
Right.
It's the first that's successful. The Model Y and the Model 3 are the #1 selling car in America, now the #1 selling in China, and globally taking over the world. 20 years ago, if you asked somebody, hey, what do you think about electric cars? No, the economy, the US is oil, gas. Everything runs on oil and gas. The world can't function without oil and gas. You got the Saudis, you got us, right? Now it's electric this, it's solar panels, things that people would laugh at. And it comes into what Elon Musk ended up doing was Elon Musk was able to capitalize on the image he was building as a wild card that appeals to a lot of controversial individuals as someone who's not afraid to speak their mind, and he gained favor in a lot of youth and a lot of people who are willing to go against the status quo. And using that, combining his name and image between all his companies, between his start at PayPal all the way up to SpaceX and Tesla, now Tesla has become the forefront on energy, on clean energy productions, battery cells, software. They are dominating. And it just comes down to the fact that when you think of Tesla, you think of quality, you think of powerful electricity, you think of saving the environment, you think, there's a lot of Tesla drivers who feel good about themselves for driving a Tesla because they think they're doing something great for the environment. I mean, so me being one of them. So you realize that.
You made me think of that South Park episode.
Yeah. So what Elon did was great. He came out and then he became this huge guy. And what he noticed in his branding, hey, the Gen Z loves when I go up against Congress, when I go up against all these rich conservatives and I spit in their face. Because to them, he's like the Democratic hero when he's conservative. But to them, they're uneducated. So they think he's the one going against the status quo. And that was genius. Because now the new generation of drivers, the new generation of business owners, the new generation of homeowners, you got solar, you got cars, you got everything that just comes down to, hey, this is convenient. And hey, I like Elon Musk. I don't mind supporting Tesla. Hey, I'm saving the environment. Hey, I'm helping out my future generations. Right?
And I just want to add one more thing about Elon. So it reminded me that when it comes to kind of why do you do CEO executive branding, there's a couple of reasons. One, it can grow the top line revenue of a business, all the reasons he said. It can improve the reputation of a business. It can help you build a portable brand, which Elon Musk has. It's just not Tesla. He takes it over to other areas, right? Look at what he did with SpaceX. He has people who will invest $10 million to $50 million and not get a return for 20 years. Tell me who else can do that, right? He sold them on a dream and they believe in him. And then finally, building a legacy. So I want to mention that aspect as well in terms of why you do it and how Elon fits into that. And then even with X right now, all these liberals said that they were never going to use it and we're done with it, right? You know who's making a lot of money on right now on Twitter and who got a blue check mark? David Hogg.
Yeah.
You remember him? He said he was never going to do it, but as soon as Elon turned on that ad revenue system, David said, I'm going to make me a few dollars.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Please go ahead, Eric.
So I'm Eric Munnings, the CEO of Alignment Business Builders, focused primarily on digital marketing. So my question kind of collaborates with the branding aspect. How do you justify a business to focus on either branding or direct ROI activities? For example, if I'm looking at a Facebook advertising campaign, I can look at the data and say, this is working, this is not working. We can hit this X multiple in the next however many days. Opposed to a branding campaign, I guess that's where my question lies.
It's not one or the other, it's the two in combination, because you can drive conversion with digital marketing, but at the end of the day, if there's not a brand or something elevating that, it's like buying milk. You want someone to care about the brand that they're engaging with. So you're going to get way more out of your digital marketing efforts if there's a brand behind it.
Thank you, Nicole.
Let me give you a simple translation too. If you have that Forbes and Fortune and Wall Street Journal and New York Times logos on that landing page, you've already integrated more trust into the brand as well. So it can make conversions better. And it's a thing where you turn off that advertising, the brand still exists and can still drive revenue.
Yes, great.
Yeah, I'd like to know, each of you, have you ever taken on a controversial or risky campaign that maybe a lot of your colleagues in the market wouldn't have, or just either the client themselves or a risky campaign?
Ziad, you want to start?
Yeah.
The question, do you want to answer the question too?
Yeah, I
Taking
can
on a
answer the
risky
question.
campaign.
Of course, I took a lot of risky campaigns. I lost a lot of money, but I learned. You only learn from your failures. I learned not to deal with these people anymore. Look, I mean, you can't just focus on saving your money. You have to take risks sometimes. It's all a question of people. How do you vet people? What's your feeling about that? Does it inspire confidence or not? It's like making bets. You're making bets on the horse racing, on this and that. Are these the right people? Can they execute? Look, the 3 questions I ask all the time, whether I'm backing a company, a campaign, anything. Number 1, track record. Show me your track record. A lot of people don't have a track record. They really don't. They're full of shit. And they hide the track record. Number 2, skin in the game. Okay, you want me to put this? How much are you putting in? We're partners here. I'll give you a percentage of the profit also. So it's not like it's a fee-based relationship. Just put skin in the game. Number 3, execution. Just tell me exactly how you're going to execute. How. Not the what, the why, the when, the where, but the how. When you're building a company, building a product, it's how do you execute? So if you show me track record, if you show me skin in the game, if you show me an execute, it's more likely it's going to succeed. And every time I tried this model, it worked. And in my early years, I wasn't really having this model, so I took just a bet. Now it's no more bets. And when people tell you they don't have skin in the game, or people tell you, I put sweat equity, meaning they never made money, meaning they never executed. How do you make money? You either inherit the money or you make the money. So if you didn't inherit the money and you didn't make the money, meaning you never executed. So when you tell me you don't have money, meaning you never executed, you never made money. So you're lying. Obviously. You have to corner them and see how they respond. You have to embarrass them. Look, I really believe business is war. This is not like, let's be nice and try to have some coffee and see, oh, Ziad, I'll help you. All the good words, the flowery words, all fucking bullshit. Show me your record. Show me how much you're willing to put in. And you know what? If you succeed, fine, forget about it. We're going to war. We'll put tens of millions of dollars in this. But I need to start first. So once again, it's all about people, people, people. Nothing to do. And you really have to have confidence that these guys are going to be able to execute. It's all about execution. Or you're going to go to him, tell him, I have a good idea. If he doesn't tell you what I told you when you tell him I have a good idea, meaning he knows nothing about business, meaning he's full of shit like 90% of the digital marketing agencies. Or they try to charge you $50,000 up front. For what? Who the hell are you? You haven't shown me any track record. Show me. They can't show it to you. You have to really be very, very, very focused and very tough about it. This is business. You can't take risks. I did a lot of mistakes. I agree. I made 3 bets. They were all wrong. And I keep beating myself. Why the hell did I do this? I knew this was wrong. Because sometimes people are so slick and so good at it, they're con artists. They convince you of that. But the more you do it, the more you realize you can smell shit 1,000 miles away.
I think Ziad's really good at standing his ground. But remember, different business owners, different personality types. Some people focus a little bit more on their business. They're not as confrontational. Ziad's a great job. And it works great for Ziad because it increases his engagement and it really helps him stand his ground and market to people who are like, hey, great, I like this group of people who, they aren't scared to say what they say. But it depends. Example, like Dr. Greg, you're in the medical field and, let's say you're working with things that are a little bit more controversial, right? How are you going to stand your ground? How are you going to make what works for you appeal to other people? Example, right? Back in the 80s, 70s, people found sex sells. A lot of people, a lot of conservative Catholic America didn't like that. But there was a part of America that loved it, and it became very profitable. Example, and to each their own, not judging anybody. A company that recently reached billions in evaluation, it's called Feet Finder. There are people who make millions of dollars a year selling feet pics to other people, right? And the company, some guy who had this idea in his basement, some 35-year-old kid, is now worth billions. Why? Because he took a concept that to me is just mind-boggling. Like if somebody came to me for a loan and told me they like feet, I'd walk away. I can't work with you. But, to him, hey, he appealed to a group of people that were oppressed and weren't afraid to talk about it in public because it's so controversial, right? And he made billions of dollars off of it. So he stood his ground to his community. And there are still people to this day criticizing him, but hey, he's a billionaire, right? And money's the real currency. Money's time. Time is money.
Absolutely right. Spot on, right on the money.
Yeah, and just really quick, there was a multi-billion-dollar Chinese company we worked with a few years ago, GAC Motors. They were releasing an unmanned vehicle at the Detroit Auto Show. They gave us 3 weeks before the show to get them 50 people at their press conference and 5 major media placements. We went out, pitched, and all the media told us initially is Chinese companies don't innovate, they steal, right? So had to go right back to them after a week. Now we just have 2 weeks left. And I said, look, you've got this executive at this company, Wu Song. He's got this history of innovation. If we lean into his history of innovation, how he brought it to your company, we have a chance. This is a Chinese company. They don't do that. They don't do the personal brand thing, right? So it was a risky strategy to recommend. They bought onto it, but it would have been my head if it didn't work out, right? So we went out with that strategy. Media bought into it. We got them 70 media placements, 300 people at their press conference. And so that was a dice roll that paid off.
Thank you. Any more questions? Go ahead. Hey, Dawood, nice meeting you.
Nice to see you again. So can you guys talk about the transition in digital marketing and branding from target-based advertising to more creative ad-driven advertising, how there's a lot more importance based on the ad creative now, more so than the target itself? Have you seen that transition in digital marketing in more recent years?
So yes, now there's way more AI. So we're able to use AI to really determine which creative is going to resonate best. And it's not just one ad, it's very dependent upon who we're trying to reach with what particular message. So yeah, there's a huge amount of change in terms of that.
A great real life example is, 10 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, people may have been more strong opinioned against LGBTQT+, whatever, right? But now you have a lot of big companies who, right, I think it's June, right? They adopt the pride flag. They do all these big initiatives, these big pop-ups, all inclusive, they, them, rocket ship, whatever you identify as, right? So there's like a variety of things. So that has become more of a modern creative marketing and advertising technique, because you're advertising to a group of people that have been oppressed in time as you're supporting them, as you're their number one supporters, which is, going to increase the overall opinion of your company and drive revenue. And that's a great real life example. And you see companies doing it all the time. And then you have companies like Chick-fil-A that stand against it, and that drives their revenue towards people who are against it.
I'm going to stop. Ziad asked you a question.
Sorry.
About missing the Wall Street Journal by spending on one ad $50,000 to $100,000, and whether or not that resonated with you. Would you ever make that kind of a recommendation to any of your clients to take that amount of money to put on one ad and a media vehicle that had a frequency of 1 and reach 15 billion versus electing another strategy for the same amount of dollars?
I will say I would recommend a different media vehicle, yes. I would want something that had more follow through. I think that if you were doing that in concert with other things, then yes, I would recommend it. But if that was the single thing, if you're putting all your chips in one basket.
I don't care how we do it, as long as we see results. Other people, other parties, other things, the results. Maximum impact.
If that was paired with digital marketing, yes, because I think, yes, you're getting your right eyeballs, and we would use it, reuse it in so many different ways, socially.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get back to you.
Yep.
So I think that's a great question. And when we're implying that into context here, as to, let's say, the Financial Policy Council, the Wall Street Journal is a great forum to advertise to a certain type of people. As someone who has dealt with a younger generation in terms of advertising and branding, I don't read the Wall Street Journal. I get my best information from other forums like Discord, Reddit, Twitter, and I get good information.
It doesn't have to be the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal can be one of many.
Example.
But we're talking about here the wealthy people. The wealthiest audience is the Wall Street Journal.
Yes. So.
And definitely not the New York Times, never.
100%. So then it just comes down to the target message, right? What is your message? And will it appeal to the wealthier people who are reading the Wall Street Journal? The people who tend to read the Wall Street Journal are, correct me if I'm wrong, going to be more capitalistic, people with more play money, people with more freedom. Yes, right? And what happens when you have more money and more freedom? You don't necessarily give a fuck about what people beneath you say or do, right? So it's very easy to pay for this ad and then get written off, because people with certain types of money, certain type of classes, they have a certain type of ego, right? But if you want to inspire a generation of growing wealthy entrepreneurs, because there is strength in numbers, then from there you take a portion of that, and instead of just putting all your money into the Wall Street Journal, you put your money into certain advertising routes that appeal to people who are coming into certain roles and help people who are developing and understanding their values and changing their minds. Because
we don't mind about the outlet. Can be a combination of Wall Street Journal and other, or just other.
I just frankly think 50 to 100,000 is you kind of getting your balls ridden by the Wall Street Journal, because you're paying for the value of the name, and then the target market necessarily isn't always going to be the best, because the very wealthy people there are very set and stuck in their old ways, and you can't always teach an old dog new tricks. So they're they're also the type of people to really clash and give you negative feedback if they don't agree with you, versus when you're dealing with people who are younger and the Financial Policy Council being backed by your record and Black Hawk partners, more, younger people and
Anthony,
newer entrepreneurs.
I totally respect your opinion, and I have no problem with that.
They're going to look up to you, and you're going to be able to mold their minds.
Yeah,
and
so that's what I want. I want to brainwash these.
Yeah,
I want to
they're coachable.
brainwash these idiot socialists who basically gave up on everything. Yeah, sorry, Raul.
So, no, I was
gave
just
up
going
on
to say,
everything.
his point also goes into, I think, a much bigger conversation around, in branding today, you have to be willing to question every assumption that you have. Because I was in a business class at Fordham a year ago. One of our clients, he's the son of the former executive chairman of Twitter, was lecturing in the class. And there's about 40 students in there. And we asked them, where do you get your information from, your news from, right? About 7 of the 40 students said, like, something you expect, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, et cetera, right? The other 30 of them said TikTok. Yes, TikTok.
I know. I know it. Fine. Look. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying that I want to do the thing. I want to reach the younger generation.
You got to get out there and dance, Ziad.
I don't want to reach the younger generation. What's that? I need to get what?
I said you got to get out there and dance.
Yeah. Yeah, my name on TikTok. What the fuck? So I need to reach the younger generation, the TikTok, and the more established one. The younger generation is just that I have to totally change their minds. The old established one, they have the money. Some people are going to look at that, they say, I love what these guys are doing. They're very bold, they're very direct, etc. I want to give them a major donation, not $10 and $25. I don't need their $10 and $25, but lots of money, whereby the lick talk, etc. So look, it's all again, like every time, all the same. It's all about people and money. It's all people and money. You have to be backed by the right people and the right money. That's it. And you can take the message to the moon. That's it. And I'm willing to use every tactic out there to make it happen. Very simple. I don't stop.
So I think a better marketing strategy, especially you could see Elon Musk has done it. Fuck the rich. Fuck the old people. The people who are stuck in their ways. Because yes, they make for a very certain, income class, but when you get a larger amount of people up and growing, coach them.
I agree with you. And let me tell you what my father told me a long time ago. Okay? I don't give a shit about the rich. Okay? I never ask them for money. I never ask anybody for money. People come to me and they want to do that because they like what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I stand for. My father always told me, and I said to a few guys there, be very arrogant with the rich and the powerful, and be very humble with the janitor, the bartender, etc. Be very humble with this. Because you're not going to get their attention, the rich and powerful, if you're a nice guy. Yes, Your Highness. Yes, sir. Yes, thing. Yes, you are my doormat, sir. When you're very arrogant with them and you don't give a shit about them, they're gonna take notice. They're gonna respect you more. They're gonna listen to you more. They're gonna say, who the hell is this guy who's challenging me? I love challenging the mighty and the powerful, and go head to head with them. This is what it is. You have to get their attention. Everybody sucks up to them. 99% of the people are rude with the waiter and the janitor, and they're very pushy with the big boys. Fuck the big boys. We're here to disrupt the establishment, to disrupt the big boys, and if we can get some funding from the big boys, welcome. You don't want to do it? I'm going to do it without you. We don't have an 800-pound gorilla backing the Financial Policy Council. We're fiercely independent. We didn't change. We're never going to change. We have 80 corporate sponsors, small people, entrepreneurs, etc. Not small people. People who gave in $5,000 and $10,000, not $50, which is relatively small. And this is how we plan to grow the organization. Yes, I'm a populist too. Yes, I want power to the people too. Yes, what it is. I resent the establishment more than anything, and I say it in public. Let them listen to it. I don't give a flying fuck. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yes, Joe.
So thanks. I just thought to make it more humorous and interesting, I'll share with you as part of this my most favorite disastrous branding. I'd like you to tell me what you think are the most interesting personal branding disasters you've seen. It comes from Singapore Subaru 2020 Auto Show. Subaru introduced the Forester Ultimate Customized Kit Special. You know what those letters stand for? F-U-C. I'm doing this but it's true. They introduced this, capitalized letters, and they just didn't even look at what they were doing. So there's so many examples of disastrous branding. Tell me your favorite ones each. Be kind of fun to hear what you think is the word.
That's funny.
I love the Chevy Nova. Nova in Spanish doesn't go.
Funny.
I thought the most tone-deaf thing I've seen was, do you remember last Christmas, that Southwest disaster with all the airplane delays, right? And the CEO of Southwest, just his statement was so insensitive to people. And your company has been built on the love of the customer, and you're gonna have such a great experience. And that buried them, right? Like, the most important thing to do in any crisis is first decide whether you want to say something right away. And when you do say something, make sure that it feels like not premeditated and it isn't hollow. You have to say something that's meaningful and something that's going to connect.
Yeah.
Very similar to airline, in the airline realm. a couple months ago, I think it was about 60 days ago, Microsoft had a huge mishap, which pretty much stopped the whole world for a day. Yeah. Frontier took it upon themselves to blast across all their platforms. Hey, we didn't have any issues because we're still on Windows 86.
It's awesome.
And as a result, their stock has been consistently down since that.
I love it.
But they did get a boom that day in flights, but their stock has been down ever since then, over 10%.
I love it. Okay, who else?
So my name is Erica, and I refer clients to regenerative doctors around the world that do very innovative treatments that are not covered by insurance. And there's one area of women's health that I have a big issue with for this reason, that women's sexual health cannot be advertised because it's considered pornography. So how, as he was saying, how do you advertise things that are controversial, especially things like that?
Good question.
There's a way around everything, and I've worked in advertising long enough, and with all of the major pharma companies, when, you know, even the ones with black box warnings, and, you know, we're showing pictures of people frolicking in the fields while we're talking about this may cause death. But we have found ways to advertise cannabis. We've found ways to advertise absolutely everything. We have done a lot of women's health products where you can't say it, but you send them somewhere with a provocative message. You send them somewhere where you are allowed to give it. So that's how we've gotten around it, and it works.
Anybody else?
Dr. Greg, you had another question?
Yeah, Greg. Okay, good. So that's it. Go ahead, make your announcement.
So all you guys need to be back here in a month. It'll be one of the most important meetings you've ever been to for you personally and for your companies. Last time we focused on what was broken with healthcare. This time, it's not going to be about us individually. This is family, okay? You guys, and we're supposed to be controversial. You guys are being ripped off. Whatever card you're providing to your employees, whatever you're providing to your families, whatever the man's giving you, if you're in a bigger company, you're being absolutely raped. And what we're going to be talking to you guys about, the guys on the panel, the doctors, have been in this business together 100 years. We know what's broken. We're not going to talk about what's broken. What we're going to is we want the FPC to have the answers when they need them. We want that, but right now it's family. And so we're going to talk to you. If you have a neighbor that's a pediatrician, he's not good for your kid. If your college roommate's an orthopedic surgeon, he is billing codes. And he's unfamiliar with the data. He literally does not know what you need to overcome your problems. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And what you'll do is you become friends with us. We'll tell you if you live in Los Angeles who you need to connect with. Whether it's us and our innovation, it doesn't matter. We want you, your company, not to get ripped off, and we really want we want the FBC to know the way your life can be better and how your company can save perhaps millions of dollars if you make the right choices.
Greg, thank you so much from your mouth. Look, I repeat again. We are here to empower, inspire people, and we truly mean it, okay? We have no other agenda. We're not running for office. We're not being Republican or Democrat. It's all bullshit. We're here to really empower people. If you really want to make a difference and change things in your life, you've got to join us. If not, it's your loss. You know, we're not going to beg you to join. We're here providing a platform for you to express yourself, to write blogs, to give opinions, to interact with us, etc. Next event that Greg was talking about is October 17, same time, same place. Since you are in our database, you'll be receiving invitations to come in. Let's make it a habit. Then we have an event on November 7th. We're going to have a series of events. We have an event every 6 weeks about different topics. What you're going to hear from us is not stuff you read in the journal or in magazines or anywhere. This is from people in the trenches with experience who have no other agenda than empowering you, than guiding you. That's it. So enjoy the evening. For those invited to the 9 o'clock dinner, you know where it is. And I hope to see you all on the 17th.